God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Now you know it, sing along. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Let's play some peace. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Take it back to God. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Let's put our hands together. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Think about that. God gives me everything I need. Do you believe it? God gives me everything I need. Why don't you say it till you do? God gives me everything I need. Last time. God gives me everything I need. Reverend Renee Lowe, y'all give her a welcome. And Reverend Michelle Sirocco, give her a hand. Thank you so much for singing with me today. At this last minute, just bumming on. So welcome to Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening. We are glad you're here. Whoever you are and wherever you're from, you are welcome here. We believe in one power, one presence. We know that it's God the good, and that it's everywhere present, and that means it's connecting all of us. It's moving through all of us. Can you stand on that idea? Can you get behind that? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Can you get behind using that knowledge to make the world a better place and a place that works for everyone? Yes?
Yes.
You're in the right place, honey. All right. We like to say good morning to each other with a handshake or a hug, and that's up to you, but throw those hands out if you're not a hugger, because here they come. Let's turn and say good morning to someone. streaming from all over the country and from other countries as well. So before the day's over, walk by and say hello, preferably not right now because we're getting back in our seats. That's good. Okay, if you're here for the first or second time, we'd love to gift you with one of our Science and Mind magazines. So raise your hand, and Mr. Tony Padona, one of our board members, will be happy to bring one over to you. And yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we like to remind each other that there's this light and this love and this truth that's in us that shines forth from us. We especially like to remind the little ones of us. So we have a fantastic youth program. This is our youth director, Abby Martin. And Abby has something wonderful in store for the kids today. So let's sing the kids into the youth room. If you will help me by singing. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. You're gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Yeah. Give yourself a hand of the good. So I asked Reverend Michelle to come up and tell you about the nurture groups. We've been announcing this for a few weeks now, and this was a brainchild baby of Reverend Michelle's, and I'd love for her to tell you a little bit more about it, and also so you put a face with the announcement. And then Linda Thunberg will come up and finish our announcements, but Michelle, thank you for sharing about nurture groups.
Thank you. So what this is a group of people getting together from all different parts. Anybody that participates here at the center. And, you know, we've done several projects over the course of the time that we've been together in outreach. But this is an opportunity to do not just outreach, but inreach to each other. So that when there's somebody that's out for some reason, whether it's a health challenge or whatever's going on, that we have people that are willing to send cards, make phone calls, connect through the internet using Facebook, emails, or whatever else, or maybe go for visits. So we have these sign-up sheets out in the front on the information table, which is the one over there. And you can circle the things that you would be interested in doing. It might even include things like having somebody that doesn't have anybody to have Christmas dinner with or something like that, and including them in your celebration. So before you leave today, please check out the table and look for these sheets. And basically, if you want to get out the front door, you got to fill one out. So, line up quickly. And if you have any questions, I'll be here after the service and just ask me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. How many people have been to the community soul nights at Alabama Healing on Thursday nights? Well, if you have not, you should go. They're really fun and they're really good. They're ongoing on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. at Alabama Healing on Park Road. This Thursday is a new experience, uniting generations of mothers and daughters. With the wonderful Annette Shue.
No?
Well, she will be there Thursday night. She's probably prepared. And this nurturing mother-daughter relationship class is for any mother-daughter, dual or individual. So your daughter can be in Ohio like mine. I can still go. We have a new member class and potluck June 30th, 1 to 5 at Sally Racing's house. This is something new we're offering a few times a year. This is our first one, and it's open to existing and founding members, not just new members, and those even that aren't members that are considering membership. It's a great way to learn more about teaching and how to apply it as well, and how to be involved here at CCSA. Plus a fun pop-up, so bring a dish to share and join us at Sally's. And then on Tuesdays, this Tuesday anyway, coffee chat with Christy. is Tuesday at 11:30, June 25th. Open invitation to anyone who would like to have coffee and conversation or tea with Christy and others from our community. The location is Eastside Local up at Eastway Drive in Charlotte, and it's always a fun time to sit down with Christy and talk about whatever you want to talk about. We have a guest speaker and musician, July 28th. He's an Atlanta artist, John Stringer, speaker and modern mystic. He'll bring his heart, his music, and positive energy to our community for an evening concert on July 28th at 7 p.m. right here. So he'll be sharing a message and music on Sunday service that same morning, and Christy says we will not want to miss his message on this very special Sunday or his concert. So, and if you need prayer support at any time, we have a prayer box over here right on the table, and you can put your prayer in there or email your prayer request to prayer.ccsa@gmail.com. And for today's reading, going with Christy's theme of embracing our adventure of life, I found an article online, and this is just part of it, but I thought it was so apropos. Where has fear tied you down? Feeling excited and ready. Holmes knew that our experiences are as real as we make them. When speaking about physical perfection in the science of mind, he states it this way: we are not so cold-blooded as to say that a person with pain, that there is no such thing as pain. We admit the fact, but it's a quite different thing to admit its necessity. We are not, a fear of spiders, for example, may or may not affect your life if you're a bank teller. But if you're choosing gardening as a profession, you might want to deal with that fear. Before we can deal with anything, however, we must have the courage to admit we have a fear. And we need to be strong enough to ask for help. And you can do that with affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment. So the next time a fear of a challenge or change appears in your life, take a moment to approach it with childlike wonderment and excitement. Yes, taking responsibility and facing challenges can be scary, but only if we allow it to be. He says his friend Marie shared a new acronym with him for fear. Feeling excited and ready. I love that. Feeling excited and ready. I tell this story all the time. I'm going to break from my article for a minute. Renee, being here today, years ago at the Actors Guild, is that where you guys were? She stood up on stage one morning. I tell the story all the time. And she said, I have those butterflies in my stomach. They're right here. And you know what that is? It's just happiness waiting to get out. and that's what fear is. It is feeling excited and ready. So every time I go out to speak somewhere, or if somebody wants to speak and they're talking to me about speaking out, just let those butterflies out. They're just beautiful butterflies, right? Anyway, so you are the result of divine intention creating a unique expressing of itself. Within you is the power of the universe, a dynamic force that exceeds the power of the surf or the explosion of a supernova. There is nothing that can tie you down, least of all fear. Know that, believe that. And if you currently lack the faith that is so, he says you can borrow the faith that he has or not have in you to reach all of your hopes, dreams, and goals. You are the light and you are loved. So if you repeat this affirmation, I am the result of divine intention.
I am the result of divine intention,
creating a unique expressing of itself.
creating a unique expression of itself.
Nothing can tie me down,
Nothing can tie me down,
least of all fear.
least of all fear.
I am the light and I am loved.
I am the light and I am loved.
I am feeling excited and ready.
I am feeling excited and ready.
I am feeling excited and ready. Thank you.
Excited and ready. Let happiness out. Love that. That Renee loves. That's a good one. So let's take our excitement, our happy butterflies. Let's take all of the feelings of walking in to the hugs. Let's take all of the feelings of hope and desire as well as a challenge. If something is up for you, let's just lean into all of it. Let's lean in for a moment of prayer of meditation, a musical prayer of meditation, inviting love itself to lead our way. So placing your attention in your heart, slowing your breathing, being fully present right here, right now. Lead me, love, lead me on. When I'm weary, make me strong. Lead me, love, help me grow. Lead me, love, lead me, love, lead me on. When I'm weary, make me strong. Lead me, love, help me grow. Lead me, love, coming home to the truth of my being, I say, lead me, love. I trust in this powerful oneness, this powerful presence of love itself. I trust in the infinite orchestrating power of the universe. I trust when things are moving along in my life amazingly, and I trust when that fear is not quite feeling excited and ready. I choose trust. I choose to lean in. I choose to breathe, turning fear into energy, into excitement. I breathe into the truth of my oneness with an inexhaustible source of good. And I let it lead me forward in everything I do and say. To lead me home to the truth in my heart. Lead me, love, lead me So resting in this energy of peace, this intention of leaning in and being led, not pushing but being pulled, leaning into the vibration of oneness, of truth, of love. I open my mind and my heart to be and to receive a blessing this day. I open my mind and my heart right here. Choosing to let love lead my way. And all that I do and say, I lean in with faith. I lean into life with a grateful heart in advance. I surrender into that power and that presence that created me, that never left me. This type of surrender is surrendering smallness, surrendering limitation, surrendering fear, surrendering doubt, surrendering self-sabotage, leaning in, choosing to trust. And trust this beloved presence. Make me strong. Lead me, Lord. Help me. Lead me, Lord. Lead me home. This love, this oneness, this truth is the truth of my being. I claim it. I say yes to it. I thank God for it. The same is true for me as is true for you. Thank you, God. And so it is. Breathe your neighbor awake back into this room with a nice deep breath. One of my mentors, Dr. James Golden, started a retreat one time by just breathing to the point of uncomfortableness. He just kept breathing and looking at people. He didn't say a word. He just. People started to fidget, and they started to get antsy and uncomfortable. And he's like, "Are you in a hurry? Are you going somewhere?" We don't take time to breathe sometimes. So I love to have that moment in meditation together on Sundays to remind us all, and for myself, to get into the breath, to breathe into this place. Because so often we spend our lives like a combination of an Amazon trail guide and a cheerleader. Like a pom-pom in one hand and a machete in the other. Come on, we got this. We got this, come on. You know, to ourselves, trying to rally our oomph, right? And trying to cut the path, just forcing it, pushing it, forcing it, pushing it. Come on, come on. And if you're a mom or you have a partner or you have other people that you're trying to lift up, you know what I'm talking about? They need to, you take it from just yourself and you're trying to wave that pom-pom for them and cut their path too. When really, breathe. Breathing turns fear into energy, turns stress into energy, turns fear into excitement, lets those happy butterflies just fly out of there. Breathing into it, surrendering into it. It's a pull, it's not a push. I love the Helen Keller quote that said, "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all." But this daring adventure isn't a pom-pom and machete adventure. It's a surrendering into the heart and trusting that the power and the presence that created us, that we're never separate from, is always pulling us. And sometimes we're digging our heels in and we're holding claws into the walls and we're not, no, I'm not going to go. It's comfortable here. I know the terrain. Instead of just continuing to allow the transformation to take place. Last month I dipped toes into the idea of the hero's journey. I talked about it a bit. So today I'm picking that back up, and next week I'll conclude with the hero's journey, continues or completes, or I'll come up with something. But the first part of that hero's journey is just the ordinary day-to-day stuff, you know, I call it the sheep the sheep phase. The sheep phase are like, you ever been in the airport and they take one of those little ribbons down and you actually don't have to do this, but you still do? Because it's just what you do. It's just there's a path here and I should take it, right? Instead of realizing they took that away because there's no one in line and you got a straight shot. Life is that way too, right? We just follow the status quo. We follow the ideas and the plans and the concepts, perceptions, all these different things from other people or from our previous self of what we thought we needed to be and do and have, instead of stopping, putting down the pom-pom and the machete for a second, surrendering into the now and saying, wait, what is it that's pulling me forward? What is my call to adventure? And sometimes it jolts you, right? A call to adventure comes sometimes in such a way that it's painful. When my father died in 2004, man, that rocked me. He was the steadiest place of unconditional love I'd ever experienced besides maybe his mother. And he just was this place of unconditional love, no matter what, that's actually the definition. Yeah, there you go. And when he died so unexpectedly, my world was just turned upside down. But it was in that upsetting of the status quo, I canceled everything on the calendar for 3 months because I just couldn't deal. Couldn't even go to CVS without ending up in a huddle on the floor and having to call and have somebody come and get me because there's too much, people everywhere, too much. So I canceled everything. I can't be around people. I got to just cancel. Gave myself 3 months. Statute of limitations on my grief. It doesn't work that way, just so you know. Takes what it takes. But I gave myself that time. And during that time, all of a sudden, these blocks that were never blank on my calendar, they always had something on them. This is where I'm going to be 5 months from now on this. I was somewhere different every Sunday. It was blocked out, right? All of a sudden, there were empty blocks. And the universe was like, oh, thank God, finally, here we go. She's getting out of the way. That was one of my big calls to adventure. Because when I gave space, and I put down the pom-pom and the machete, and I just surrendered into this is what's happening right now. I don't like it, but it's what's happening right now. And I surrender into the power and the presence that created me, that never left me and never leaves me. I am safe. I'm connected. I am good and guided. Surrender into this right here, right now. And as I did that, and those blank spaces started to show up on the calendar, guess what? Spirit started to move. Started to be pulled. I became a minister. Who saw that coming? Trust me, not me. Not me at all. That was like the furthest thing from my idea that would ever happen. As a matter of fact, one of my first science of mind teacher used to say when I started attending the Center for Positive Living in 1999, she said, well, when this is your church, I was like, no. No, sister, that ain't happening. And then, guess what? I became co-pastor of that wonderful community. So that call to adventure, one of the biggest adventures, right, of my life, that call to adventure came out of a crisis, a dramatic event. But it doesn't always come out of a dramatic event. It can, but it can also come out of this place that's just uncomfortable, this divine discontent, because there's a longing within us for change, a longing within us maybe for a deeper intimacy in relationships, a vulnerability that we haven't had the courage to experience before in ourselves. Maybe it comes from just a desire to express more fully the passions of our heart. That call to adventure can look different to each one of us, but it becomes apparent what it is and what's mine to do next when we just stop and allow ourselves to be pulled instead of pushed. But it doesn't just happen once, right? It didn't just happen in 2004 and then it hasn't happened again to me. I'm sure you're the same. We continually get this call to adventure because the hero's journey is cyclical. The hero's journey, we start to go and then we have this place of transformation. We have these things that take place within us. We get this call to adventure. And then a lot of times we go, no, like I did. When she first said, this is going to be your church, I'm like, no. A lot of times there's a more, in the moment, you say yes and then you say no. For example, she didn't actually say no, but I have a friend who prayed for a beautiful job, a major life change for her, to be a spiritual director of a community. She got it. And then she says to me, I think I'm just going to have to turn it down. I think I just can't do this. I just can't do this. I'm just going to have to turn it down. And I was like, oh, the refusal stage of the hero's journey. Here we are. Right? We're like, no, you got the wrong one here, God. Not me. I'm not your girl. I just listened. She worked it through. She came back around. I can't turn it down, can I? I'm like, yeah, you can, but you're not going to want to do that because it's your soul pulling you forward. Right? You can turn it down. We have free will. And it's just going to come back around. We're constantly being pulled in this hero's journey cycle of things. We're constantly being pulled to expand and express. I love bamboo. Who likes bamboo? Who hates bamboo? Love bamboo? Hates bamboo? Oh, good. Okay. Those that, if you didn't raise your hand on the last one, you have ever had it, probably. Not true. I have it all over my backyard, and I love it. But it is so pervasive. It will grow, honey. It's going to find its way. It's going to find it won't be contained. It would just, like the lawn gets mowed every week, or every other or something, and thank God, because otherwise it would just be bamboo. But because it's mowed, the bamboo roots are underneath the ground, and they're like, oh, not safe. No, I'm just going to keep going. No. It's growing up alongside the house now. So I have to get my friend that does the lawn to get in the bushes and get it there. Otherwise, it would like pop the gutter off the house. So it grows. It won't be contained. It won't be contained unless it's maybe in a little special kind of container. Maybe you could control it a little bit, but it doesn't flourish as much. I grew up around landscapers. I have two brothers who are landscape architects, and they're always talking about, how you got to propagate the plants, how you got to move them into their next phase of growth, give them more room, and then give them more room, and give them more room. Otherwise, they get pot bound. Those roots, they start to starve because there's so many roots and they can't get enough nourishment. Or how about the analogy? I'm just going to throw a bunch out there and see which one sticks with you. How about the analogy of goldfish? You put it in a little bowl like this, it stays about that big. You put it in a bowl like this, it starts to get like this big. You put it in a pond, the sucker gets to be a foot long. Same fish. And if you leave it in that little bowl too long, it can't survive usually. It starts to contaminate its own area. Is this sounding familiar? Ever felt cramped and contained, held in? What contains you? What's containing you? What size is your container? Right? Your container. I'm talking about your capacity for joy. Your container for happiness. What is that size? What are the things, the parameters that contain your joy, your personal expression, your passion, your prosperity, your health, your relationships? Maybe it's, well, this is as good as it's ever been, and if it gets better than that, let's say in a relationship, have you ever been here or seen it happen, where this person gets a new relationship and it's fantastic, and all of a sudden one of them starts creating drama or making up problems? Because it's never been better than that, so I don't know how to feel into that. Learn. How do you learn? You lean in. You surrender. You become vulnerable. You allow yourself to continually be seen at a deeper level. Otherwise, you'll just create drama, and you'll be back at that same set point. If we want to continue this journey, this hero's journey of continually expanding our souls, then we have to be willing to raise the bar, to raise our set point, our baseline, if you will, right? Same thing is true for prosperity. You get, if you hit the ceiling of what you believe you deserve, it'll just weird stuff will start to happen. You're like, you're not going to believe what happened. I got this raise and then my car broke down. I got this raise and then my rent went up. I got this unexpected income and then I had to go to the hospital and have this bill for whatever. It's because you need to raise your bar, raise your baseline, change your set point, expand your container, your capacity for joy, for happiness, for prosperity, for health. And so a lot of times a lot of people actually have something that I would consider one of the containers, one of the ceilings. And that would be what they call the imposter syndrome in psychology. Have you heard of this? It's where you feel like you're going to be found out. I think psychology today says something like 70%, but I think it's probably more. I don't know. In my expert opinion. I think it's even more. But it's that feeling of that most people experience in their lifetimes at some point or another. It's that feeling of, I'm going to be found out. That's not good enough. They're going to realize they gave me this job and I'm not qualified. They're going to realize that they say they're in love with me, but they really don't know me yet. And wait till they find out, then they're out of here. They're going to see the other side. They're going to see all the pieces. Right? That feeling of being found out. When I graduated from college, I had a dream for like a year. It's this dream that kept happening. Of I'd walk across, I'd shake the president's hand, I'd wave to the family, I'd get to the end, and I'd open it up, and it was empty. I was like, no, it really didn't happen. I don't have a diploma. I do have a diploma, but something in me was thinking, this has got to be a joke. I don't know how that happened. I'm still not sure how that happened, but just because I majored in partying for the first 2 years, I don't recommend it. And I changed my major like 6 times, but I got out early on the 6-year plan. Got like 5.5 years. Not really remember that. But that feeling of being found out is we're not feeling that we're good enough, or that we are whatever enough. And the reason I think it's probably more than 70% is because I think psychology today is probably not taking into account how many times we forget that we're one with the one that created us. And then we are having that imposter syndrome in a different way. Because we're forgetting the truth of who we are. And forgetting to operate from that place. Forgetting to be bold and magnificent in our lives. Like that beautiful Marianne Williamson quote that says, it's not fear of failure that we are so terrified of. It's that we're powerful beyond measure. That's what we're afraid of. Because if that's true, then we have no excuse. If that's true, there's no excuse not to be amazing. And that takes continually having courage to lean into life, continually putting ourselves out there and being vulnerable, continually saying yes to change. Ooh, people don't like change. You might think you do, but it takes a little work to like it. I wrote a song about it, and I've been singing it for years just to remind myself that change is good. To remind myself that when it's feeling yucky, it's divine discontent. It's that pull forward for the more that is good, that's exciting. And as I mentioned in the meditation, it's our breath that turns stress into energy, turns fear into excitement, into what Linda called the happy butterflies, or what Renee called the happy butterflies, wanting to get out. That happiness, wanting to get out. Breath takes us there. Breath connects us with the source of who we are. So there's another way that we cap our happiness, contain our happiness. You know, we got the fear, we got the imposter idea. We also have then we have the self-sabotaging stuff I talked about, but then we also have how we spend our time in our everyday. Gay Hendricks, in a book called The Big Leap, he talks about 4 different zones that we work from. One is the incompetence zone. It's like, honey, that's not your gift. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let that go. The next one is this competence. You know, you can do it, but so can most other people. And a lot of people spend their lives just doing that. It's a job, I'm just going to do it. And then there's the excellence zone. And that's where, you know what, I'm rocking this going out. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing great. I'm doing better than most. But guess what? The next one is where we want to strive to be. And that's our zone of genius, our field of genius, living from the place that's uniquely designed for us to express from in our lives. I'm not just talking about work. I'm talking about everything that we do, coming from that place where we are giving our best self to life and not just spending time on the things that maybe would be somebody else's joy, but it's not yours. Maybe it would be somebody else's passion in that moment, but it's not yours. But you're diverting yourself from what is yours to do. I'll give you an example. We used to have when I was at my previous church, we had chairs would always get messed up. In here, they're always set up for us and they're perfect. And then Chuck comes in and he makes them even better. But we don't have to put chairs out, right? But in my first church, we did. And I would come in on Saturday night or really early on Sunday morning, and I would move every chair. It's like cutting hair. You move one, you got to move another, and the next thing you know, you got a lopsided hairdo. It's just that's me trying to arrange chairs. But I did that. I would move the chairs. I would be obsessed about the newsletter and the website, all these things. And one day, one of my mentors at Wing Game, she came to visit, and she said, Sugar, tell me what you did this morning. And I said, what do you mean? I came to church. She's like, no, I mean, tell me everything you did. And I said, okay. Told her I did my shower. I got my meditation on. I did all that stuff. And she goes, I mean, when you got here, what did you do? Oh, well, I arranged the chairs and I did this and I looked at the programs and I made sure that the volunteers knew what they were going to do. And I did this and I did that. And I listed off like 15 things. And she said, 1, you're robbing your people of a way to connect. 2, she didn't hold back this one. 2, your job is to pray up and show up. And I was like, huh? Pray up and show up. I was like, but what about all that other stuff? See, that other stuff wasn't my field of genius. It wasn't what I was being called to do in that experience. And when I have over the years in ministry gotten bogged down, and trust me, it just kept coming back around. When I get bogged down in newsletter and website, because I love marketing. I was a marketing major. I like that stuff, right? And I'm pretty good at it. It might even be my field of excellence, but it's not my field of genius. That sounds kind of weird to say field of genius, right? It sounds cocky. But then you remember that the divine is moving through us, so of course we're genius. So I would get bogged down in that, and I would spend more time on a newsletter and not be able to notice that there was somebody going through something that needed me to sit with them. That's my focus now. To be able to be there for people, to be prayed up and show up. And to be in that space where I'm living from my field of genius. And I'm so blessed to be able to do that. But I know that we all have that ability when we pay attention. When we start realizing, is this something that I am counting the minutes until it's over? Whether it's work or play or whatever. Because a lot of times we do this in our personal lives with our friends that don't lift us up and fan our flames and make us feel good, and we leave feeling like the soul just sucked right out of us, and we're like, what just happened? I just had lunch with a friend. So pay attention to the places where you feel like you're on fire, you're losing time, you're just excited to be there, and where you're feeling pulled down. Pay attention and weed those out. Allow yourself to bust through the containers that contain you to a smaller idea of happiness and joy, and move into a greater idea of happiness and joy. And when you do that, how you do that is awareness. It's choosing faith and joy and being in that place. And we do that sometimes with gratitude so effectively. Gratitude takes us to a place of joy. Gratitude takes us to a place of remembering that we're okay, that we have everything we need, that we can have faith, that we can be our authentic self. That's a big one. That's a big thing that keeps us from being at our full capacity for joy when we're not being our authentic self. Happy Pride Month, by the way. I saw an article, and I don't usually repost things that are not positive. That's just, I believe in staying in the energy that you want to create and staying looking at things that you want to experience. But I saw an article that disturbed me so much that I had to repost it. And it was about a young gay man who was with his partner and was beat up by they described it as a mob, jumped on this guy. And his lip was split, and he said broken tooth, and he's in the hospital. And his partner said, all I could do was throw myself on him and scream for help. And I posted it because I said, let us remember that Stonewall, which is 50 years ago next week, or this week, Stonewall, the riots at Stonewall, it was a protest against being treated as second-class citizens. It was a protest. Pride marches are a protest against being treated in a way that is allowing these kind of attacks. It's standing for peace. And it's important that we live our authentic life, whether you're gay or not, if it doesn't matter. It's about all of us coming together and living an authentic life, because when we do, then we stand up when someone says something about our black brothers and sisters, when someone says something about a trans person, when someone says something about an older person or a younger person, whatever it is. We have stereotypes and we have judgments and division that happen everywhere. And living an authentic life is standing up and saying, not on my watch. I don't think so. That's authenticity, allowing the light of the divine to come through us in such a way as to say in every moment, with our actions, with our life, being a testimony, this is what I stand for. I stand for love and I stand for acceptance. I stand for inclusion and diversity and honoring of all beings. Living that authentic life is definitely a container buster that busts us out of this small mold of happiness and joy. Because trust me, I've tried to pretend, I don't know who I thought I was kidding, but I tried to pretend for a long time that I was somebody I was not. And it's uncomfortable. I tried to keep myself quiet when other people, in my young life, I would keep myself quiet when other people would talk about another group of people because I wanted to fit in. Until I saw the hurt on a friend's face when she said, "Hey, Christy," from across the campus. And the person with me said, "Oh, God, not that lesbian." And I kind of put my head down. God, it hurt my heart when I saw the look on her face because it hurt her heart. And I was like, never again. I'm not going to choose to fit in over someone's heart ever again. I stand for diversity. I stand for authenticity. That's why it's so important that we live an authentic life. But remember, that authentic life is also embracing that divinity of who we are, and having the courage to answer the call to adventure. So whether that adventure is a new job, a new career, or just a new level of intimacy in your relationships, whatever that call is, I think about, what was his name? Tom Costa. Dr. Tom? Dr. Tom wrote a book called God's Calling. Is that what it's called? Yeah, God's Calling. And I think about that sometimes, like the call to adventure. What if it was actually a call? What if you were looking at your phone and you saw the caller ID and said God? And you're like, voicemail? Well, maybe I should get this one. Right? Like, that's, you know it, you hear it, you feel it when you have that call that is a divine urging, a divine spark of life. Are you sending it to voicemail? Or are you being in that place of, like when I talk to my teachers, Dr. Lisa or David, if they call me or I call them, I have a pen and a piece of paper. Because I guarantee there's going to be pearls that fall out of their mouths, and I'm going to take note. We always have pearls of wisdom falling all around us that we don't even notice sometimes. That we don't even notice unless we choose to live in such a space of expectancy of good, an expectancy of a call to an adventure that I'm going to say yes to because it's going to expand my joy and my goodness and my sharing of that in the world. When we live from that place, miracles, what other people consider miracles, start to happen. We met a man named James this week. James, oh my goodness, was a godsend. See, before our trip to Mexico, we decided we don't like this bedroom suit, we're going to let it go. So we sold the bedroom suit, which means all our clothes were in Rubbermaid bins since the end of May. I like order, and it was making me a little twitchy. So Angie found us this amazing dresser. Oh, it's beautiful. It's exquisite. It's fantastic. It looks brand new. This woman's moving, and it is brand new. Actually, she's like, I just can't take it to my new place. So we go to pick it up, and she says, bring somebody strong. And I'm like, okay, Stephen's coming. Wait, she changed the time. Stephen's not coming. So here we are, me and Angie, going to pick up this. It's huge. I'm like, I got this. Okay, we just get it on the dolly. Can't even lift it. So we finally scooch it. We scooched it to the door, and then I look and go, there's 4 stairs I came up to get in this house. How are we going to do this? Right at that moment, from the road below. You need some help? Yes, we do. His name was James, and James was heaven sent in that moment. He came up, he helped us. He lives his life that way. I got to know James very well. He's a talker. He's awesome. And what I realized is that he's constantly living in a place of expectancy of a connection. He's expecting God to show up in everything he does. He's expecting to see that divine face in every face he looks at. So he was expecting that not only did we need him, but he needed us, and there was this exchange that was going to happen. He's living that way. He got 2 car detailing jobs and $20 just helping us move a dresser, just by stopping in the middle of the road and having a conversation. He probably got way more than that because Angie's wanting to blow up his Facebook with work and marketing and all that stuff. But he said, I just live that way. I just expect good to happen and good happens. Do you see this ring? He said, that's a $2,000 diamond. I found it. I had it put in the setting. He said, you see this ring? It's gold. I found that. He's just finding stuff all the time because he's expecting to find good. He's expecting to find good connection. See, if we lean into our call to adventure expecting that it's going to be good, it's going to be good. Being faithful to the assumption that this works out in my favor. That's the way that I choose to live. I'm faithful to the assumption that this, whatever this is, turns out in my favor. Leaning in is what that's about. So next week, we're going to talk about the rest of the hero's journey. Because right now I've taken you through the ordinary world, the sheep, right? I've taken you through the call to adventure, the refusing of the call, the meeting the mentor, asking for guidance, leaning into that, then crossing that threshold into, okay, I'm going to do this, and then being tested, and then choosing to stay the course. Next week we're going to continue on the hero's journey of the innermost cave, the ordeal, the reward, the return back, the resurrection, and the final return. So, hero's journey continued next week. But I will leave you with this. What is your leap? What is your call to adventure? And what are you waiting for? What is keeping you from it? And remember that even, and especially actually, if it's not as a dramatic of a thing as you think, it still could be a very important call to adventure. If your call to adventure is, I'm going to be vulnerable, I'm going to open my heart, I'm going to seek more intimacy and more realness and more authenticity in my life. Or if it's something as grand as, I'm moving to the Grand Canyon, I'm going to be a National Park Ranger. You know, whatever it is for you, saying yes to that call to adventure is so important. And so it is. So now I think I will sing it to you as my first teacher, the Reverend Dr. Luther Stewart, taught it to me. I came into the Science of Mind teaching in 1999, I believe it was, and I took notes. I wrote down everything the woman said. And this particular day, I put a couple of chords to it. Called it a song. Intention is be aware of
Repeat after me. I will never stop playing and I will always dream big.
I will never stop playing and I will always dream big.
I will never stop playing and I will always dream big.
I will never stop playing and I will always dream big.
I will never stop playing and I will always dream big.
I will never stop playing and I will always dream big.
Thank you so much. I want to tell you guys something real quick before you leave. Real quick before you leave, and we're changing it just a little. So, we see, hear, appreciate, and love. Yes? All right. We see you, we hear you, we appreciate you, and we love you just the way you are. Thank you for being here. All right, join us if you would in our conscious giving affirmation. Divine love.
Divine love.
Moving through me.
Moving through me.
Blesses and multiplies.
Blesses and multiplies.
All that I have.
All that I have.
All that I give.
All that I give.
All that I receive.
All that I receive.
Thank you, God, for the good in my life.
Thank you, God, for the good in my life.
And online folks, if you are looking for a way to contribute to the center, you can do that on our website, awakeningcarolina.org. There's a page on the homepage, a link on the homepage. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are taken care of. I am taken care of. We are taken care of by the Spirit of love. You're being blessed. You are being blessed by. I am being blessed by. We are being blessed by the Spirit of love. Right now is another chance. Right now is another chance. Right now is another chance to live in abundance. Live in abundance. You are taken care of. I am taken care of. We are taken care of by the Spirit of love. So in this spirit of love, I just say thank you, Mother, Father, God, for these gifts of abundance, for these tithes and offerings. I know as they are given, they are also received back to overflowing. I know that as we give, we receive, that it is one beautiful dance of reciprocity. And so I give thanks for each person participating in this proof that love, that source, is overflowing and abundant and inexhaustible. So I know and say this word for each person, that they are indeed blessed and prospered, that this center is indeed blessed and prospered. So I give great thanks. So join us in our closing song, if you would. We let the love wash over us. We let it be.